Guten Tag. Welcome to another one of our wonderful little live streams. Today we're going to be up here in Hamburg. Sorry for the slight delay, but there was one of those events that I couldn't quite get out of in time, so I had to push things back enough time so I could actually get here, sit down, and load up the airplane and everything along those lines. But we'll go ahead and get rolling with it tonight. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be flying from Hamburg. We're going to be heading up to a very, very, very awesome little canal here. Basically skimming along the surface of the canal, paying for the lock fee, although I believe that use of the locks is just a public service based on the actual county. But again, like I said, somebody will probably correct me in the comments for that one. The aircraft we're taking this one today is in the Baron 58, which is great. I remember in Microsoft Flight Simulator 10, this was like kind of like the aircraft that you did like all your like instrument and commercial stuff in. So it's always kind of fun to actually, kind of be able to kind of climb in one of these virtually. I love the back seat here. There's nothing I've ever, I think, other than a Cirrus I got to sit in that ever looks like this on the interior. This is just... it's just excessive. And another thing that I'm learning really quickly as an actual private pilot in the real world is having your own door is actually a really nice thing to have. It's one of those things when you fly a lot of low-winged airplanes. Like if you look at this one, for example, I don't have a door. So if I need to get in this thing, I have to get in through this door over that wing. This is way more annoying than most people would probably think it is. But again, welcome to the real world. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a soft field takeoff today. So I'm going to go ahead and pop one notch of flaps down. We're going to go ahead and set our handy-dandy trim to the correct position. I had a real fun time trying to find the correct trim on this one, but apparently it's the one with the U, so I'm not going to worry about it too much here. I'm going to go ahead and pull back all the way on the stick. We're going to release the brakes, and we're going to give it just enough power to actually start rolling forward. What we don't want to do, of course, is suck in a bunch of nastiness into our propellers here. Nice. All right, I got myself a whole squadron. I already got a great picture there, so that'll be super fun. So I'm going to go head over to this lovely runway. I see someone's already got a beach ready to go. When we're taking soft, obviously I want as much runway as possible, so I'll kind of swing this way, and we'll get ready for a little formation takeoff here. Oh, kick that rudder over. I think it sounds great. They did a really nice job of the sound set on this one. All right, that looks pretty good right there. Okie dokie, let's make sure everything's working appropriately. All right, nice. Let's take a look at the elevator. One of those things I'm like extra paranoid about, especially when I take off from an airport that is not the airport from which I normally take off from. I always freak out that there's like that one thing that you're missing, which is probably bad. All right, we're going to flip our Foost pumps on. Foost pumps. Apparently, I'm a little too in Germany here. Prop sync is off, which is definitely not what we want. So go ahead and do that. Dude, guten Abend, yeah. Yeah, my German is limited to operating a submarine, so if anybody needs anything from the really, really super fun Silent Hunter series, I could probably just about command an airplane if it was a submarine. All right, let's get going. We're going to put a little bit of back pressure. Whoa! I love doing a wheelie. You're up. And flaps up. German was actually one of the first languages I wanted to learn when I was a kid. Unfortunately, in the school district that I went to, you could do Spanish, you could do French, and we could do Latin. So, hablo español más o menos. So you could probably guess which one I ended up with here. So it is what it is. Very cool language, though. A lot of cognates that we have over in regular English there. And I will make the common joke I always make about the German language is somehow they're able to make words longer and not shorter when they put them together. But that's just a typical stereotype there. I think the first one that I think my neighbors were German, and it was super duper cool when I was growing up in Baltimore, Maryland, that they did all the German traditions. So one of the things they had is they had like little photographs on top of the piano, and they had people in like the lederhosen and like the full getup. But another really fun one is they actually would do things where they would put their shoes by the fireplace during, Christmas seasons and stuff like that. And they also had a couple culinary traditions, which I always thought were pretty wild. And one of the cool things is, I grew up with them, and then when I turned 6 or 7, I had moved. And I didn't see them again until I was in my mid-20s, when I actually went down and visited them down in Florida. And you can imagine how weird it was being like neighbors that you hadn't seen in like 30 years. It was really, really cool, and I was super glad. But I had to do a report back in 4th grade about a country, and I picked Germany as my country, and like I called her up to like interview her about all the different traditions and things. And it was just one of those things that is definitely on my bucket list to come visit, and I'm going way too fast. So we're over the city of Hamburg right here. 3 minutes and you're already flying? Oh, geez, I guess I got going a little bit too efficiently there. Oh, well. Everybody will catch up to me. You can always mash that Y key, but I think I'm going to take a little bit of a sightseeing while I'm here in Hamburg and let everybody kind of catch up. So when I think of this particular city, I think of my dad's company, which is also a German company. They are going to be remember exactly what the last, because I know they're a subsidiary of that other country, and I don't want to get that one wrong, so I'll think of that one in a couple minutes. That's no big deal, but basically what they do is they sell machines that modify plastic, and one of their major locations where they do a lot of the exports is actually in Hamburg. And the reason it's so wild is for those of you who have access to Google Earth, the VR version of this, one of the coolest things you will see is you'll actually get to basically fly around the city itself. But like, just like, I don't know, I'm super impressed with the photogrammetry here and just the level of detail and just how incredibly old some of this stuff is. And it's just super duper cool to be able to kind of see it. Knowing someday I might actually get to visit it myself, which that'll be so, so awesome. But one of the things I always love about Hamburg is when you come down to the port region itself. I'll go ahead and I'll kind of come over this way. Try not to smack into anything this time. Come on this way. You actually have like just so many shipping containers. And it's one of those things where I'm always super curious to see if the good folks over at Microsoft got this detail accurate. But like, look at this. This is just beautiful. It's lovely, lovely detail. And if I don't pay attention, I'm going to run into the ground. And I think I forgot to shut damage off today. So I got to be kind of careful on stuff like that. Oh, this is so cool. You got the old dry docks and everything like that. You got the big gantry cranes. So much detail. Granted, the detail is still loading, but I'm going to make do with what I have. Ah, here we go. There it is. I don't know. There's just something about this image. It's just like, it's just cool to me. Just how many thousands and thousands and thousands of things are just loaded in those containers trying to get out there in some of the world. It's just, I don't know. I find that cool, but I'm just nerding out. Oh, well. All right, let's get underway here. Oh, nice steep turn. There it is. I was waiting for it. Traffic. All right, we'll come swim back over this way. Oh, man, that poor ship sank, too. It's just like that cruise liner we saw when we were in Puerto Rico. But it's pretty good. All right, let's head out of the city itself. Like I said, incredible port city. Those of you who are really hardcore ship nerds probably know the game Ship Simulator Extremes. Like I said, kind of a fun. What is that? Oh, okay, so in Germany, they've invented the hover car already, and nobody told me about it. So I'm kind of disappointed. I wish we had those back in the States too, but it's just, you know, those German cars are just incredible, kind of thing like that. But in that game Ship Simulator Extremes, they actually featured this little waterway here. So one of the reasons they said, hey, this would be kind of a fun little thing to do tonight is to go back here and actually get to fly instead of having to do the actual, 4.5 hours it took to get out of here. Instead, we can just hit the throttle at full power and be done in about 5 or 6 minutes, which is super duper cool. Whoa, uh-oh, whoa, oh. I guess I'm following this guy now. Nope, he's slowing down. Okay, I will go underneath. All right, come sneaking down this way. This is just, oh, it's so incredible. Also love the windmills. Something that unfortunately the United States isn't caught on to is that wind is free. So you just put something in the way to collect it, and we, of course, have a lot of coastline where I am. There's no reason in the universe why we can't put those out beyond the normal visual range. They're certainly not going to be bothering us. We're certainly not going to hear them or anything like that. All right, let's go come swinging this way and cut off. Let's see here. This is Echo Delta Hotel India Airport here. Probably could have started here, but that's perfectly fine. I'm enjoying what I'm doing here. TBM. Oh, that's cheating. I thought about the TBM today, but I wanted a twin. There we go. Nice. This is Finkenwerder Airport, and it's pretty good size. It's a pretty real runway there. All right, so let's go ahead and get a little bit of altitude and head towards, I'm going to get this horribly wrong, so I'm not even going to try. All right. Probably back off on the RPM a little bit. I think I got it a bit high at the moment. 2,500 is fine. This aircraft just effortlessly climbs. It's nothing like the aircraft that I typically fly from day to day. This is just, whoop, gotta go. This is also the ultra-modern, extremely high horsepower, lightweight, everything under the sun version of this plane. So you're definitely going to have some extra kind of perks here. Another thing I noticed flying out of the city here itself is that it's very flat. Usually when we do our little flying operations, there's always some sort of mountains involved. But this is just like, oi! So one of the neat things is as we make our way north along the canal, it'll be kind of neat to see just how they're not kidding when they say low countries for some of the regions, especially to the north of us here. All right, this seems like a pretty comfortable altitude. I'm sure the German air traffic control are going absolutely nutters over what we're doing here, but they'll forgive me eventually. Nice. Wired virtually going with the offline VR. I see what you did there. All right, come to the right a little bit. I can't believe I'm about 60% throttle here, and I'm doing 170. That's amazing. All right, let's kind of make our way this way. I'm going to come just slightly to the north shore here, and we'll start kind of cruising towards our entrance. And another thing I always think of when I think of this particular area too is going back to my Silent Hunter comment back in the beginning of the stream, is that one of the places you could basically start was Kiel, which was kind of north and to the east of here, but that was a perfectly good German U-boat base at the time, and that was one of kind of your starters points. And I always remember how incredibly challenging it was to navigate out of here, even if you could, basically navigate by pencil, which I always thought was kind of funny. Oh, that's a bit of a maneuver there. Try not to make your packs puke. Got a fun story about flying, but I'll get to that in just a second. I just want to kind of get myself sort of on the way here, a little bit more to my left. I think that should get me pretty much right on. I didn't actually program anything into the G1000, but I can cheat a little bit because I have a little nav map. All right, let's get this all squared away. Perfect. Let's go ahead and synchronize the heading. I should be able to go like this. Yeah, apparently I forgot to program the synchronize heading button. Oh well. Boop, there we go. HDG. Sweet. On the way. 192 meters. Not to say that that's not... I wouldn't want to have to run up it, I will say that much. But compared to some of the regions that we've flown where the mountains, especially when we flew in the Andes, it was, what, 19,000 feet, some of those peaks? That was crazy. We also did Lucula ages ago, and that was super duper amusing. Alpha-Rog, I don't know how you fly formations so incredibly well, but keep up the great work there. Speaking of which, let's see who we have here today who we can say hello to. Alpha-Rog, welcome back. Codifier, welcome back. Limes Fly VFR, welcome back. Mr. McDonald, welcome back. SDO91, and welcome back. I'll fly in VR. We've seen you before, but if I missed you before, I apologize. And I can't quite make out who's all the way. Blue Dog, welcome back as well. Like I said, great to have a nice, solid crowd flying with us this evening. And everything got very quiet. Okay, all good enough for me. Sweet. So other things in Germany, like I said, I had my neighbors who were German. Like my family is part German. We're actually part Czech as well, in case you're curious about that. Our second fly ever was actually over Czechoslovakia, which I thought was kind of fun because it was appropriate. It has a ski slope. I love that. So one of the interesting things with Germany is they have one of the world's largest model train sets, and I would just love to see this in person. I'm sure that people have seen. Hi, TPH 17, welcome. And it was one of those things where I always see these videos of this. If you have not seen the video of this insanely, absurdly impressive train set / model town / it's a panoply is the word I'm going to use here of just stuff, and it's all miniaturized to all the same scale, and it's all computer controlled, and probably uses more electricity than a hospital does. It's one of the coolest things. I know it's not here, but like I said, it's one of those things I've always wanted to see in Germany. And of course, you have the castles and stuff like that, which are awesome. You have like the different parts, the beautiful mountains, a train system that's like really, really tight compared to at least what I'm used to kind of back in the States. And as well as, a ton of history. This has been so many different people have been here. So many different people have lived here over the years. I always forget the United States is only, 300 years old. I mean, obviously, there have been people there way before the Europeans showed up, but I think you kind of know what I mean by that. Relatively new from a country perspective. This is cool. I would imagine it gets very windy here, because I've been seeing a lot of these. But again, aren't these going to be slowing the Earth's rotation? No. I hate when people think that that has anything to do with anything. It just kills me sometimes. But okay, we'll be dealing with that. Miniatur Funterland Hamburg. So I was right. I got it. Let's see here. We have an individual named Butternups who's going to come sneak up on me. If I had known that he was around, I would have grabbed him for this evening, but that's okay. Very, very good friend. We're responsible for all the DCS destruction that we always do together. And like I said, awesome stuff. Does surveying for those of you who are looking for a very, very interesting career option. Okay, so we're basically heading up to St. Margaret's, which is going to be our first right. Yes, I know that's not the German version, but it's the best I could do here. And we're going to be taking a right turn, and we're going to be coming down onto about canal level. I'm not going to fly under any of the bridges because I've learned my lesson, having done this a few times, that you can't fly under it unless, of course, you go into here. Sorry, everybody, I just scared you. Now I can fly under bridges. All right, now I can do some naughty things. Cool. So I'll be taking a right, following the canal, and we'll go ahead and distribute ourselves once we get to the other side there as well. So fun stories. I got to do some flying last weekend in the real world. I'm not saying flying. I always do some virtual flying too. By the way, the Tiger Moth came out. Yes. And also I think a Kamov 10 came out. For those of you who are helicopter fans, that is a crazy helicopter. It's like... Oh my gosh, it's like somebody took an inflatable boat and put a helicopter blade on the top of it. It's just so wild. And I believe we also have an F-117 that came out. We have an F-22 that came out. And there's one more that I'm completely forgetting right now. The bigger news for everybody in Flight Sim, by the way, is the fact that we're about to get the anniversary update in November, which is amazing. I'm telling you now, we're going to have a live stream where everybody is going to be operating right flyers. So as soon as that update drops, start getting practice in the right flyer because we're all going to do it. Yes, absolutely. I'm kind of resistant to install scenery because I do a lot of beta stuff, and that's a lot of reinstalling and reinstalling. So every time I do that, I have to move everything, and it's nuts for hard drives. So I try to keep my install as simple as I can for flights and when I can. But we've got that update coming. We're going to get a new Airbus. We're going to get a DC-3. We're going to get the Spruce Goose. When I think of the Spruce Goose, of course, I always think of that great Simpsons episode where they're referencing the Spruce Moose. Got it. And also, The Simpsons is the official millennial handshake, at least where I am from, which is pretty good. All right, let's see if I can find the entrance to this thing. And there we go. Perfect. All right, people behind me. You can't see this right now, but I'm holding my right arm, like it's right here. My right arm is right here, kind of pointing to the right, so I can let folks behind me. I'm about to take this turn. Nice. Yeah, there we go. Lights. We're going to come sneak on down to this canal. One of the things I had to do with Google Earth a little earlier, I think it was on Wednesday, is I was very curious to see what's the biggest ship you could fit through this. And it was something like 30 meters wide from what I was measuring in the locks themselves. I could be wrong on that one, but like the ships, you're not putting the Titanic through this is basically what I gathered from my quick little sitting there with a ruler and about 2 minutes work kind of a thing like that. So it kind of doesn't surprise me like that. All right, we're going to come sneak right in the entrance here. We have Bruchdorf. I'll come right up on our right, I believe. That's going to be the little village. I stuff everything's like a village. Where I live, it's a sprawl. If it's not a tree, it's just a line of houses that just goes on and on and on and on and on. It's crazy. You'll hear the reference to the Northeast Corridor, or the Megalopolis is another fun one like that. But that's literally kind of where I live. And I didn't have a fear of running into one of those, but now that I'm seeing this, I'm suddenly slightly concerned for all those. This could be interesting for us. All right, so unfortunately what I almost did is flew into the wrong body of water. You're supposed to catch me before I do silly things like that. I was just looking at that going, wait a minute, that makes no sense. All right, I'll come back to the right here. Whoops. That would have been embarrassing. Man, this canal doesn't look anything like the one on the chart. I knew I was in trouble because there's not supposed to be a turn there. But hey, welcome to navigating. It's not like I put it in the GPS or anything. There we go. Come back around. Whoopsies. This is Bruchdorf coming up. And then we'll take the right-hand turn. Yeah, see, everybody realizes all my silliness here. So bad. So one of the fun things that they had... I did not think of that, Will Kelly. Will Kelly basically mentioned that we could do a slalom course. If I had a plane that was built for that, like a Pitts, I would totally do that. And that would definitely make it easy. So like I was saying, we've got the anniversary update coming up very, very soon. A lot of really, really cool airplanes going to be coming out with that. So I'm pretty excited. Like I'm really looking forward to some of those aircraft. I look forward to having to try to figure them out again. I'm a little concerned that the DC-3 is going to be a little on the basic side, kind of like Flight Sim 2004 was. But it's a DC-3, and I can land it in the same place as I land a Cessna 172. So I think that's kind of cool. It's also a lot quicker than a Cessna 172. So I appreciate that aspect to it. I was actually talking to a buddy about the 172s, and one of the things he says is, don't you get bored with that plane? And it's like, I guess you could get bored with the plane. There's not much to it. And yeah, absolutely. You could get tremendously bored, especially if you're used to flying things with dual engines and neither one of the engines behaves or anything like that. Also, somebody please turn the heater on. That's getting a little cold for me. Oh, look, it's got a button for me. Haha, GAT. Nice. Do you have We Love VFR? Yes, I do have We Love VFR. For those of you who are not familiar with that mod there basically adds in a bunch of VFR elements to the world, like things like towers, smokestacks, and stuff like that. It's a fantastic mod. I highly recommend it. It's totally free. And it did nothing for my frame rate at all. It did not hurt it in any sort of way. So it's definitely worth checking out. Like you can see, there's one of them chilling right there on the left. None of that comes default with Flight Sim. That's something you have to get that mod for. There's actually an updated version of that too, and there's also a version that doesn't do particles, like what you see poking out of the top right there with that kind of smoke going on. So now in the back of my head I'm going, so where are we going to fly right flyers? I guess we could do North Carolina. That would be appropriate. But now I'm like, well, where would be a stupid place to try to fly the right fly? Why don't we do like Manhattan with right flyers, or do like Los Angeles, or let's see, we did Beijing already. Singapore with right flyers. I definitely think that would be an appropriate usage of that classic airplane. That would be entertaining. So that one, that'll be a gas, I think. So let's hope it works. My only concern though is the right flyer doesn't really have a lot of endurance. So we'll deal with it. Okay, I'm pretty confident this is the correct canal. Let's see. Also on the EDH key, lots of stuff. Like I said, I kind of avoid scenery packs. They tend to be kind of large, and like I said, my install changes a lot, so I don't want to damage them at all. All right, let's get... Oh my gosh, look at how many of those there are. This is not where from which I come. Oh, that's crazy. I wonder if there's like a warning on like the VFR charts about that. That's amazing. Cool. All right, here we go. So none of us can be wider than about 30 meters. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get into the locks here. All right, come this way. Going to reduce down to my maneuvering speed. There's a flight instructor out there right now who's like, don't take that turn at that speed. All right, I'll slow down. I'll slow down. I'll slow down. Give me a break, Dave. It's fine. All right, down to maneuvering speed. There we go. A little too hard on the rudder. All right, and here is the canal. Somebody mentioned in a comment that I was calling the canal by the incorrect name. I was doing the one that Google told me, well, not the one that the locals will have known the actual canal by. There we go. Nice. On the way. And here we go. Gotta kind of concentrate here. Oh, there's a little bit of power I don't need to be doing at the bottom of the yellow line. One of the things I found about getting the high performance endorsement is all the high performance planes you cruise basically 3 knots under yellow line, which I always thought was interesting, unless you're at a particularly low power. Okay, we can technically go under bridges this time, but you know how well that's going to go for us when we try. And we'll just proceed like this. Man, I cannot get over how flat everything is. I love this canal, though, like little trees behind it, and you know how old this canal is as well. I'll kind of sneak that way. Man, this plane's easy to trim. So my fun story about a Baron is when I was in flight training back in 2010, this is going back a couple years, we had 2 aircraft stored in a hangar. One was a Cessna 172N, and the other one was a Baron 58. I think it was not a G. It was probably like an E or an F or something like that. But they stored the planes in such a way that they sort of wedged them into the hangar. So me, of course, being brand new to this whole like checklist thing and everything, did the checklist exactly as it said. So one of the instructions on the checklist said, make sure that you deploy the flaps. So you make sure the flaps come down equally on both sides. So I said, sure, no problem. Greetings from Munich. A quick question. Are there really that much work? That's what I want to know. This gentleman here, Zero Now, requests, is there really that many wind turbines in this area? So if anybody who lives around here, I believe we have an onboard resident, may be able to clarify that. So as I was saying, I went ahead, got inside the plane, hit the master switch, all the gyros fire up, just like old times, pressed on the flaps lever, and I just hear this weird little clink about that loud. And I'm like, well, that's sort of a strange noise to hear coming from flaps. And then all of a sudden, my flight instructor starts yelling at me. He said, put the flaps up, put the flaps up. So what had happened is the flaps had gone down onto the nose of the Baron 58. And instead of crushing the nose of the plane, it lifted the 172 upwards on its flap. So I blame him for that one because I was just following the checklist. But yeah, so that is my Baron story. The interesting thing is they're actually rebuilding it at the time. There wasn't a lot going on in it. My concern was how on earth did they fit a plane that wide into a space that small, that kind of a hangar. So I just thought that was absolutely wild. This is so cool. I love this region. Oh man, I wonder if pretzels are any good. Yeah, probably just a stereotype again. Yeah, there are a lot of them. All right, so we have a confirmation that there are indeed quite a few, but probably not as many as we saw in the sim. That's what I figured. Man, imagine taking like a riverboat cruise and like stopping every once in a while to visit these little towns and kind of see what's going on. Get like Chotskis from all the different art shops and stuff like that. You can almost smell some of those yummy baked goods and everything. It'd be so wild, so wild. Of course, we couldn't partake in any of the local, let's see here, libations is what I'm going to use because we're pilots, and you got 8-hour bottle of throttle, of course. I don't know who this is on my wing, but they're doing a perfect job. Oh my god, you guys are way too good at this. Gotta need a picture of that because it looks amazing. Nice. Good show, everyone. Good show. So in flying news, I got to fly last weekend, like I was saying. And we flew, it was a Cessna 182 for both days. On Saturday, we flew down to Ocean City, which was the longest flight distance I've ever taken in the real world in my life. That was insane. One of the things we had to do that was brand new is I got to fly into JFK Class Bravo airspace. I've never done that in the real world. I've done it. I'm probably doing it right now in the sim. Actually, probably not. But one of the things is we flew into that area. In JFK, we had a cloud layer at about 5,500 feet. And I called up JFK and said, do we have clearance Bravo? Because if they don't say those magic words, I'm ready to quit flying. They're like, yeah, you're cleared to the Bravo at 6,500 feet. So one of the things we had to learn how to do in a hurry was get our airplane up high. So that was a brand new experience in setting the mixture control during a climb. So that was, oh my God, that was insanity. But I have a really, really cool photograph of us on top of all the cloud layer that was New York City that day. So even though we were still technically can't really see the ground, New York City was happy. I was happy I wasn't flying through any clouds. But that was absurd. And then, of course, we got to New Jersey, which New Jersey is the flattest thing. It's just a swamp. Like that part of New Jersey, flat swamp. Also, I can tell we're going uphill here because I'm going up and it seems like I'm traveling level. We got to Ocean City, landed, did our thing. We did a really good time. Lovely FBO down there. Very, very nice folks. We came back, and when I was getting ready to start the airplane again, there was a B-25 doing a traffic pattern. So, like, no joke, I'm just starting the plane. I see these incredibly loud radials just ripping over the top, and he's flying the pattern like you and I fly the pattern, where we just do a landing, we come around. We do a landing, we come around. But it was like, where did you get yourself your own private B-25 that you're allowed to just do something like this? Uh-oh. I see something. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And it was the most fascinating thing. We flew back up to JFK. The JFK controller there, I kid you not, he talked like a guy from Brooklyn, and it was amazing because we were basically making comments the entire flight afterwards. Again, why we don't record these things audio, because you get to hear all my shenanigans. Basically going the whole time going, hey, I'm landing here, give me a break. Hey, what kind of airplane you got? Get that fucking chunk off my runway. Kind of doing one of those things for pretty much the rest of the flight. And we thought it was funny, but in a way it's probably inappropriate. Oh, yeah, there it is. Nice. Then the other flight, which, oh man, probably the closest I've ever come to a pilot-induced accident, which I'm not proud of, but at the same time, it worked out fine, is we were flying back from Plymouth, which is up in Massachusetts, north and east of us. And we were coming to land. I checked. The information was Sierra. The wind was a little bit of a crosswind. Nothing weird. Welcome to Hartford. It's always a crosswind. So we're cruising along, and I call them up, and they're like, yeah, make left traffic for 20. I was like, yeah, left traffic 20, whatever. So we do left traffic, and then he's like, just make it a left base for 20. I'm like, all right, you're the boss. It's your airport. But one of the things I noticed that was really suspicious is there wasn't a single takeoff or landing. Now, at that time of day, it was about 6 o'clock at night. You'd expect there to be some people, at least like the local flight schools, doing their thing. And there was nothing. And I'm like, uh-oh. So we start coming around. He's like, just so you know, there's some birds on the runway. So I'm like, birds on the runway? So I'm like, okay, birds, like X-plane, like the birds that you run into and they shatter your windscreen, kind of a thing like that. So I'm cruising along and I'm coming in, bringing it around, and I see some seagulls on the runway. I'm like, oh, stupid seagulls. I'll just fly a little bit further down the runway and I'll go over the top of them. So here's what happens. You go over the runway and you realize that there's not 10 seagulls. There's, a flock of seagulls, and I ran amount of seagulls. Actually, way more than that. So then I'm like, oh. So, of course, my wife is the co-pilot, and she yells, birds! Sort of like bees, kind of a thing like that. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually going to have to go around with 3 passengers in an airplane. This is new. So stomped on the gas, brought up the flaps gently. It's a 182, so you get pushed back in your seat when you do that. Of course, you sink when the flaps come up. All at once, and I come back up, and I immediately call Charles and say, I'm going around. So I get about 2/3 of the way down the runway, like, doing my normal kind of climb out sort of a thing. Keep in mind, at this point, I'm ready to be done for the day. And, of course, he says, yeah, those birds aren't going anywhere. Now they're taking up more of the runway. So it's like, oh, well, that's not fair. So he says, oh, we can give you the crosswind runway, a 29er if you'd like. And I'm like, I'm sitting there. Keep in mind, I have passengers in the back seat, and they're on isolated comms. There's actually a really fun button. I don't know if I have it on this one. Do I? Yep. See the co-pilot and pilot buttons right there, the isolation? You can actually press that button so that the people can't hear you in the back when you're having naughty discussions about your passengers. Kind of a fun button. But they're on that, so they're just enjoying the flight. Like, oh, why did we not land? Kind of a thing, sort of a thing. So it says, yeah, we'll do the crosswind. So he gives us a left traffic, which was sketchy. And then he gives us a left, he says, go fly it straight in. So this runway is about 1/3 of the length of the main runway. And I have PAX, and I haven't landed on this runway ever in my life. So, I'm a private pilot. I can figure this out. It can't be that bad. So I'm coming around. I put the flaps all the way down, basically cut the power and coast this sucker in. Now, this particular runway, I'll try to find this for you so you can see exactly what it looks like. It's on the backside of a dike. So when you're coming into land, like if you take a look at these trees right here, the runway itself starts right where my mouse is on the back side of the tree. See where this little road is? That's where the runway is. That's the tree line that exists alongside of it. So what you do is you drop over the trees, cut the power, and you basically land on the side of the main runway so that you can get on this little tiny runt of a runway. And of course, I like flap up the flaps before I even touch the ground in order to make sure I use as little of this runway as I can. Get on the ground, stand on the brakes, you know, get off at the first taxiway somehow. And I expected like my brakes to be on fire, like trip the tires. None of that happened. So I take my turn, and I'm like, you know, shaking. So like my controls, you know, I can't shake the controls nearly as bad as I was shaking because I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. You know, they said call ground or whatever, and like, okay, so you call ground. I'm in the middle of the taxiway, which you're not supposed to do, by the way. But I was a little shaken from the whole experience. And, you know, I call ground. They say taxi via, you know, Alpha. So I go down Alpha. And then they call me back and say, hold on, taxi via Juliet, which is the one runway parallel, or the taxiway. So I jump on Juliet. And I look to my right, and there's these like flight school planes, and they're covered in birds. Like you'd see the plane, like you know where the propeller is in the front, and there'd just be all these birds just chilling underneath, behind, and there's just a row of these birds. And the airplanes are just crawling along ever so slightly, trying not to suck one of them into their propeller. So what had happened is, like I said, they kind of moved off the runway, but then they moved back on the runway. So the ground control is like, oh, we're going to get the state to come fix this. So the state's solution, by the way, welcome to the state, comrade, was to go get a police car and run the police car up and down the runway at maximum speed with the sirens going, wee, wee, trying to chase all the birds off the runway. And it was one of those kind of things where it's like, oh my gosh, why would people even? It's just incredible, incredible. I'll go ahead and do that. We don't need to see things like that. Give me just half a second here, and we'll do that. I think we were just about getting where we need to go. There we go. Delightful. Sweet. So that was a lot. And when I got on my plane, what did the pack say? Hey, that was a really smooth landing. Here I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know if I can fly anymore. All right, we're doing fine here. We're kind of come up here. This is Borgstedt coming up. There should be a very, very long bridge that we get to kind of zing under here. I'm trying not to fly too low here. Oh, yeah, look at those German hover cars, man. Those are so much more sophisticated. All right, let's kind of come sneak down this way. So that's a day in the life of a regular private pilot in the real world. Things you usually don't have to deal with as much in a flight simulator. I at least hope you don't have to deal with in a flight simulator. The lessons there, the Cessna 182 is a very robust aircraft. It needs 1,100 feet to stop. I needed 850. That's called standing on the brakes. Love stuff like that, though. And it's always fun that after all that flight training, you finally get to use something you practiced a million times, like with actual people. Actual people don't like it, though, because when you pull the engine throttle all the way back and the plane just gets perfectly quiet, they all panic. It's just, oh my God. I thought it was fun, and they did not. So that is my two little flying stories from just one weekend of flying in the real world. Like I said, it's just incredible. And a lot of that minutia you just don't get in a flight sim. The handling is pretty good, although realistically, it's just way too easy to move these controls. All right, let's see how big this bridge is. I'm expecting something awesome here. This is apparently Reichert, which is up that way. We'll come swinging. Yes, seriously, Paul the Jurassic. That's the Germans. Yeah, lovely hover car there. Uh-oh, this does not look like... Oh, yeah, we can get under that. Now, I disabled damage. Anybody who does not have damage disabled, if you attempt this maneuver, I only promise you're going to have to restarting pretty soon. Fortunately, I think there's an Air Force base just to the north and west of us. Hey, love it. Oh, power lines, power lines, power lines. For those of you who are DCS fans, power lines are very real, very dangerous things, and I can't tell you how many times I've smacked into them. It's one of those where you think you're being a hot shot and you're flying extremely low, doing like 400 knots, and all of a sudden, power line. Or you're flying in a helicopter and you think you're being all crafty, going between the poles. Then you see these little faint black lines, and all of a sudden you're like, oops. I'm not going to make the shocking joke. You could make that on your own. All right, got to get myself lined up. It's time to start doing this one. Vogelstrecke Bildske. Vogelstrecke. I have to go find what this is. Vocal. I'm trying to think of Vokes. I'm going to have to think of what that is. But like I said, a good flight. I will continue flying. I've actually got a checkout coming out in a complex aircraft. So my next experience is going to be aircraft with retractee landing gear. And I'm looking forward to it at the same time as I really am not looking forward to the exercise it takes to get landing gear manually retracted and landing gear manually deployed. Nice. Look at that. I'm kind of afraid of that aspect of it. I think that's going to be a lot of work. My understanding is landing gear that are retractable are not as strong as the ones that are fixed, but at the same time, they've got to have some absorption powers, especially because they're going to be I don't know. It'll be an interesting experience for me, and I'll talk about that. Let's go ahead and clean that up real fast. That's one of those nice things. Let's see here. That looks pretty good. Delightful. Now, one of the things they'll do for melting ice on airports is they basically use a jet engine to do it. Now, I wonder if that will get the birds off, because then you have the added benefit that after you've taken care of the birds, you also have something to eat later, if you don't mind it well done. But that might be a little extreme, I think. I think the police car was just as much fun. And we'll come swinging down this way. One of the things we have in the real world are these things, and they're amazing. But, because in the real world, you'd be blind at this sun right there. All right, time to start thinking about landing. Let's see, the wind's coming out of the west, so we're probably going to pop over. We're going to go visit the city of Kiel real fast. That's going to be off kind of our right. Then we're going to do a long left traffic, and I'll land at Hoftenau, and I'll kind of pop down. It's a very loud firework. That's so cool. Again, simple solution. The problem is where that airport is located is situated kind of like in a neighborhood. So if we make a lot of noise, they get really grumpy and try to close the airport, which has kind of been the recent trend. So one of the consequences, if we want to set off the world's loudest firecracker to scare off the birds, we're probably going to get some noise complaints. But, that kind of thing happens there. This is not as wide as a canal as I was expecting. Now, we've done the Panama Canal as a flight before. I think it was at a DC-6. Oh, hello. Where are you going to put that? Wow. You too. Where are you going to put that? Oh, well. We love VFRs, not perfect. It is an awesome product. Highly recommend you go check it out. Like I said, free. And it adds a lot. Oh, look at that. You know we're going to check that out in a minute. All right, here we go. Actually, what we probably should do is go find the Autobahn and go take that in. Let me see if we can go find that. Yeah, I'm actually going to go do that. Now, that's very realistic. On aircraft with controllable pitch propellers, if you just stomp on the gas at any point, it revs up. But what you don't get here is that sudden acceleration that comes with that half a second of revving when it certainly boosts up and pushes you back in your seat a little bit, and then it catches the governor. Something we do not get to see. All right, so I think it should be... I just got to go find where it is here. Should be pretty obvious. Oh, I'm going to find you. There it is. I love these controllable pitch propellers. You just pull the throttle back and the thing just slows down. Of course, I'm basically shot calling the engines right now. So there's the guy who designed the engine panicking. All right, the motorway should be anywhere in here. I think 500. There we go. No, I think it's to my right. No, I'm getting lost here. Oh well, I'm gonna find it. Everybody behind me is like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm fine. Found it. Yes. Knew I'd find it. Nice. I figure we can take this into town. Kentucky Fried Pigeon. This was seagulls. Seagulls are the ones that blocked us that day. All right. I have to go look up this incredibly loud firecracker. Like, I'm afraid to look it up because the YouTube video is going to, break my speakers. Oh. But nice going, Flight Sim. All right, let's come over this way. This way. What a dangerous use of this airplane, but I don't mind. This is fun. Love the red roofs. It reminds me of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Or Willy Wonka, I should say. Look at that perfect turn coordination. Muscle memory. Alright, so if anybody in the chat knows the name of that thing, love to know. Kind of reminds me of the Space Needle up in Toronto or Seattle. But it definitely probably has its own name and it probably has its own history. I'm just not sure. Huh. I do not know. Cool. All right, I'll go pass by the city. I want to see where the old docks are. That's definitely something I want to check out real fast. I'm swinging this way.
500.
Oh man, this is so wild. Look at how just built up this is. Love the bridge. Try to keep a little tiny bit of altitude there. What am I looking at? Oh, check that out. Stena line and Kohler line. Ah, neat. Switch to third person, take a peek around. I just want to see if we can have any hint of where a lot of that stuff was. Oh, it's a TV broadcast tower. That's no fun. Oh, well. Neat. Get some more vessels down here. Definitely not as crazy as Hamburg, but awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right. My calculations say that our airport destination should be somewhere up the river on the left. So I'm going to come sneaking out this way and try to put together a decent landing for you folks. One of the nice things when you move up in weight of airplane is the amount of throttle that you have to leave in during the landing continues to climb. Unfortunately, with twin-engine planes... Uh-oh. Oh, no! Oh, well, he sank. So what I found out about these kinds of planes is that the two engines do not agree with each other. I mean, they're the same make, model, and everything like that, but there's no guarantee they produce the same amount of power, the same RPM, the same fuel flow. Their throttle response is different. The different distance that the two throttles move on each other is completely different. It's all crazy in a real-world twin engine as far as the way that stuff goes. Oh, neat! German subs, by the way, now are very cool U-boats because now they have the capability of air-independent propulsion, even though they're diesels, which I think is really, really cool. All right, left base for... Good question. 1-0? I'm not sure. I don't think so.
500.
26. Oop, that's way too tight of left base. This is definitely a short approach.
500.
Couple notches coming down. Now, if Butternips is here, he will cause the plane to descend from 10,000 feet to 50 feet using a very tight, uncontrollable spin, which at the last minute he'll go like this and instantly put the plane onto the ground. I don't have skills like that. All right, let's line ourselves up. I always feel like I'm too far to the left in this plane. See that? See that tree in the way? That's what I'm talking about. People need to get some hedge trimmers. That's dangerous. Ready for Microsoft's quality? Look at this ground effect here. It's not a hovercraft, folks. Ah, that was nice. You can't do that in a real plane. That would be so... Oh, easy! He's going... Oh, there it is! I've done a few of those. All right, where do we actually get off here? Yes, no, not like that. It's over there. I guess I'll take my first right, and I'll meet everybody over at the terminal. Nice, nice. Great flying, everyone. Great flying. Hopefully everybody had a nice little journey. Nice, absolutely beautiful area. I really need to travel to Germany sometimes. I have a relative who spent a good amount of time based up at Ramstein Air Force Base, which is, that's that way. You can't see where I'm pointing right now, but you believe me. South. So one of the neat things there is she was always telling us about all the cool places to visit and like all the different folks and how everybody's, quite friendly. The one thing I have heard about Germany, though, is on Sundays, apparently you have to kind of be quiet. I don't know if that's just a regional thing or it's not true or whatever the extent of it is, but it's like, this is a quiet day. We do quiet things. But like I said, everybody's obviously different and we can't stereotype anyone for one way or the other. Just interesting. Different use of weekends. I'm going to head over to the terminal. I am taxiing too fast. There is a CFI somewhere, and actually not a CFI, a DPE twitching a little bit if they were to see how fast I'm taxiing this thing right now. But, they still gave me my license. It's okay. Pretty good landing, too. Oh, look at that. The Italians are joining us. Neat. All right. This looks like somebody's already here. Awesome. This looks like a good spot. Ugh. I don't know if I can get in between you. I shall try. Safe. And full stop. All right, let's go watch people coming in. Nice, nice. You got the right idea, the codifier. Just take a left right there and I'll kind of make a way. While everybody's making their way over here for our picture, I'm going to go ahead and I'll crank up damage here. Luckily for us, I don't have to fly very far to find water. Let's see who else is coming in here. Oh, look at how beat up that thing is. I love it. Ah, 310. Great airplane. They missed a dude sneaking up in the 350. Oh, look at that. That's a big plane. We had a great turnout tonight. Like I said, sorry everybody that we had to adjust the time. We really did not have a choice on that because, like I said, I had to engage. Look at all these airplanes. This is cool. It's great. Excellent turnout. I guess Saturday nights are the best time to do these kinds of things. All right, so as always, when I reach the end of these, I always like to do a quick little QA if anybody has any questions or comments, things they'd like to see. We have a lot of really neat airplanes that are going to be coming out for Flight Sim in the next few weeks, so I would absolutely love to do something with them. So definitely keep an eye out for that. That will be something we do. Like I said, write flyers I think would be hilarious and awesome at the same time. The other thing I'd love to do, do something with Airbuses. We haven't done anything with that sim in a little while. All right, let's go cause some shenanigans and goings-ons for any of you who would like to kind of join us. Perfectly fine. I always feel bad for these planes. Look at this. Whee! Scrape that tail. Scrape that tail. Oh, I know what I'm not doing. Somewhere the owner of Beechcraft and Textron just went, "You did what with my plane?" Yeah, great flying. This was super fun tonight. And like I said, hopefully everybody enjoyed. Very relaxing flight. I felt there wasn't a lot of scary stuff. And this is such a stable plane. So easy to fly. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Flaps are up. Gears up. I wonder what that does to my oil pressure. Yeah, that's not realistic. You don't say. Oh, I love the stall on this thing. Look at this. No secondary stall. I am so impressed. Whee! I'm really impressed with that. That is like the best stall in Flight Sim right there. All right, folks, have a wonderful night. Great flying with you all, and we hope to see you again in a few weeks. Enjoy.